The nanomachine remained silent. The man met the white advisor and invited him to follow him. The advisor, Old Man Wise, asked if this was really an attempt at a secret assassination. James, who was walking next to him, confirmed this idea. James tensed up, clenched his teeth, and noted that this was far from the first case in recent times. He added that, however, until yesterday, their enemies did not dare to speak so openly. Wise put his hand to his beard and guessed that since they had decided on such audacity, they were most likely from a magical organization in the north. He concluded that the Lord's decision to leave them alive was fatal after all. The two of them walked on. James said that it was obvious that someone had helped young Master Ash, but it was impossible to determine who exactly. The white advisor was surprised, as he thought that with his status he could try to guess. Sweat appeared on James's face from thinking about it. Yesterday he had been shocked. What he saw then was indescribably horrible. On the cold ground before him lay pieces of bodies torn in half, scattered in different directions. James discovered that only one of the attackers was lucky to be unharmed. The knife that the man had given the young master was sticking out of his neck. Suddenly, James heard someone breathing. Not far from him lay a body almost completely covered in blood. It was Prince Ash. But when the man examined his body, something surprised him. Weiss touched his beard and assumed that there were no wounds on him. James said that was true. On the way, he said that the protagonist's breathing was even, as if he was sleeping, and that his clothes had obvious traces of a sword strike, but the body itself was clean, without a single scratch. The white advisor closed his eyes and wondered who had helped the prince, considering that the heads of the other factions would not participate in such a minor skirmish. James thought so too. He was carrying a small bag in his hand. Weiss laughed and admitted that it was very curious. He decided to look at the young gentleman himself first. Meanwhile, Ash was kneeling in his room, asking an inner voice if it had saved him. The nanomachine replied that if he was talking about the enemies who threatened him then, the answer would be negative. He, however, noted that he had restored his body, preventing a fatal outcome. The prince did not quite understand what lethal outcome meant. The nanomachine was silent for a moment, and then said that the user's head should contain information about this. However, the boy became even sadder since he did not know the meaning of the word user. The mechanical voice announced that it was searching for a more suitable word for this era. After some time, the nanomachine clarified that he was not the creature that the master called a spirit. The protagonist was surprised when he realized that his interlocutor's dialect had changed. He asked who he was then, if not a spirit. Ash continued to sit on the floor during the conversation. The mechanical voice warned that it was going to download basic information and instructions for use into the prince's brain and asked if he agreed. The boy did not understand most of it, but agreed. That lightning surrounded him and streams of information began to flow into his head. The prince was dumbfounded. He suddenly realized that he was nauseous and covered his mouth with his hands. Then he vomited right on the floor. Ash coughed. The nanomachine said that this always happens during the first transmission of information, and said that there should be no dizziness or nausea in the future.